Alrighty, well, it's been a minute and a half, and by a minute I just mean a bit over a week. And yeah, I figured I'd grace the internet with my presence once again and get back onto making content. Now, this is all work related, obviously, and I will be making some fan art stuff and drawing some caricatures and maybe even just sort of cutting this stuff up and making tutorials and everything. I'm still also working out the color balance for my studio because I seem to be a little bit washed out when it comes to my front-facing camera, but that's like neither here nor there. So yeah, what's new? Well, I have just finished binge watching the second season of Invincible on Amazon Prime, and I have also finished binging the first season of Fallout on the same platform. And I gotta say that I've been thoroughly entertained by both. I definitely thought that Invincible is a masterpiece. Like, it really is a fantastic show. In fact, I recently went out and bought the first volume of the comic book that it's based on, and I gotta say that the animated series is actually better, with no hyperbole. So I'm reading through, I'm not only watching and consuming like TV shows and movies again, but I'm also reading books again. Like, I've sort of made a series of commitments that I think really need to be adhered to, but the more you state something and the more you overthink it, the less of it actually gets done, because you end up just rationalizing to yourself why you haven't done something or have just, you know, put something off. But this year has been truly exceptional. I've had an absolute amazing time so far, and we're barely only in May. Just gonna check if Yep, Cool. Just had to check if my my microphone was working. So yeah, it's been a year of I guess coming to grips with my career and how it's progressing way more in the right direction than I ever thought it would. And I'm very happy with the current set of developments. I think this is also going hand in hand with the fact that I recently decided to go all in with the carnivore diet. Just as a little social experiment. And the thing is, like I mentioned this in the previous stream, like the carnivore diet, it really does have, and I don't like to use this word, but magical properties. And like even that has caused me to, you know, do more of a deep dive into it, because, you know, in the intervening weeks since I've started doing this, and I started doing this kind of in April, I've lost weight, and I don't really have like the same sort of, I guess, cravings. I never really got cravings, but there were just certain things that I was just like, I've got to eat that. You know, particularly when I go to like a shopping center, or like a local shopping center near me that has like a food court that I like. You ever have like one place in a food court that you always go to, and like there are other restaurants there, but for some reason you never ever try their food, like you never bother? And to me, it's like there's a bunch of reasons for that, but I think it mostly boils down to the fact that they don't have free samples, or the setting of the restaurant itself, it looks too like standoffish. It's really strange. Like the layouts of certain food court vendors really have an impact on whether or not I'm going to, you know, bother trying their food. Like even the people that are working behind the counter can have an effect on that kind of thing. Like it's really weird. It's like stuff that I never really thought about before. But if you're not so much greeted without a smile, you're like, they barely acknowledge your existence. Yeah, that restaurant's just not getting, you know, my patronage. And there's certain things about, like, you know, marketing and everything like that I understand more now. It's like you don't have the prettiest girls that work at your company, you know, in the back making the food. You just don't. You have them, you know, facing the customer and serving. Hang on. Sorry about this. Just needed to double check something. But yeah, back to the shows that I've recently watched. Like, I've actually binge watched three shows. One was obviously Fallout, which is the most recent one. The second one was the second season of Invincible, which is more of an animated series. It's a cartoon basically, and the third one was Baby Reindeer, which I've never disliked a protagonist quite as much as I have in that particular show. It's a strange but oddly like empathetic or sympathetic, I guess, kind of like viewing experience. But I have like never quite been so like in the moral grey area of whether or not I actually, approve or agree with like the hero of the story. Because he just comes across as a creepy, annoying Scottish weirdo. Like part of me wants to like him. Part of me is, more or less on his side. But another part of me is just like, I don't like this man and I want to see him fail. Even after all the horrible things that he's been through, I'm still not the biggest fan of him, if that makes sense. Like, sometimes there can be too much of a grey area. Gotta find the classic Optimus here. I've been meaning to finish this one off. I've been working on this one for about a week. So yeah, Baby Reindeer, for those who haven't watched it, the main thing it reminded me of was the movie Trainspotting, which is about, a bunch of drop kicks from Edinburgh. Starring Ewan McGregor. Which, that's a cool movie. Like, not dissing it or anything. But also in Baby Reindeer, there's a lot of I think unintentional like social commentary in that show, and I think there is it says a lot about like the class system in the UK, like the brain drain from Scotland to London, or just basically everywhere in the country. Like, the young people seem to be drawn to London because that's just the place to be. And to a degree, Sydney is similar. Like, I can perfectly understand why people from around the world want to come and live and work in Sydney. But Australia, for the most part, you know, it really only has sort of two major cities. Brisbane is a very distant third. Adelaide is still really not worth mentioning at this point. Like, Perth is cool, but unless you're working in the mining sector, there's really not much out there. And I think that's what was kind of hinted at in Baby Reindeer. It's just how the poor, the downtrodden, the lower income people, like a lot of the people in this are either already poor or are considered like working poor. Yeah, I wanna make some commentary videos on the stuff that I've watched. Very much in the Johnny Come Lately style. So yeah, what were the other shows? I am looking at getting back into watching The Boys. I think that's a very cool show. I think the concept of the sort of evil or morally grey superhero is an interesting one. And the other thing about like a lot of the shows that I've watched, they are very, very dark. Like Fallout is just a very... It's actually a lot heavier than the games it's based on. But man, they get so much right. Like, what's his name? Todd Howard is an executive producer on the show. And I think, you know, that's not just like a symbolic credit. I think he's also, you know, like he's directly being consulted with regards to everything that goes into this particular show. Obviously, they are allowed to take a certain amount of creative liberties. That's the other thing about the Fallout series in general. Like, if I can compare it to anything, it's a bit like Star Wars, but done better / more relatable, if that makes sense. Like, the things in Star Wars, there's a lot of parallels. Like, you have to have, you know, Jedi's, lightsabers, spaceships, lasers, some sort of big bad. And in many ways, Fallout has that pretty much in equal measures. See if I can find. Ah, here it is. Never leave home. Like, if you're going to be drawing for a long time on the iPad and you've got the brightness all the way up on it, which I apparently do, like the iPad of the tablets that I use for my creative output, it is by far still my go-to workhorse. Like, I also enjoy using the Wacom, but there's something about the convenience of the iPad. Like, the screen's obviously smaller, but the results you get are way quicker. Like, I can tell instantly when something is and isn't working on this thing. So what did I like about Fallout? Well, the story and the characterizations are very good. The girl they have playing Lucy is excellent. Ella Purnell, who I'll be actually drawing later on tonight. She is very talented as an actress. She has a very good story arc. Like, she develops very quickly. She has a lot of character development as she goes from being the overly trusting, naive, like, vault dweller, and she's, you know, still very vulnerable. She doesn't know what she's doing a lot of the time. She's left with, like, harsh decisions to make, which honestly leave her frozen in place. Like, seeing a character who doesn't have the answers or doesn't automatically just spring into action is, I find that fascinating. I like that concept. Unlike her counterpart, which I can only really compare her to Daisy Ridley in the Star Wars sequels. Lucy is just a much better and more well-rounded character than Rey ever was. And it boils down to the fact that, like, this girl is just not a Mary Sue. She has little, like, moments that might be considered a little bit Mary Sue-ish. But she's still, you know, she can still get hurt. She's still vulnerable. She can still get, like, kidnapped. You know, she has an appropriate response to how, like, harsh and awful the world she's stepped out into is. Like, the attention that gets paid to the detail in this particular series is really, really good. And also, it stays true to the video game. Like things like, you know, hacking into the computers that all have that same black and green, like, monitor. You know, it's the Pip Boys and the Vault suits and, you know, even the bottle caps that they use as currency. Like, it is all very, very faithful to the video games. You know, they showcase the mutated animals that you come across in the wasteland, you know. The power armor looks, you know, it's still cool looking, but it's also bulky and, you know, ungainly. Like, it's designed to protect the user on the inside, like whoever's wearing it. It's like they're, you know, wearing a tank on their whole body. But at the same time, you know, they can still very much get injured wearing them. Like, there's a reality and there's a conscious effort to make Fallout seem not quite as, I guess you could call it, flexible reality as the game. And I've actually gone back, found the old versions of Fallout. Like, I'm talking like the first two games that I played back in the late 1990s. You know, I was in high school. I had only recently moved from Melbourne to Sydney. And I was over at a mate's place who, you know, lived reasonably close to where I used to live. And he had this game on one of his computers. and it was Fallout, the first Fallout game. And I remember, like, you know, starting up a new game, you know, this point and click adventure where every time you'd find yourself in a combat situation, it'd feel like the game would slow down and you could assess the situation. And you had these moments where you would, you know, talk to NPCs. They had like these quests for you, like, you know, branching text lines and everything, and you could actually ask them stuff. You can't really do that now in like the newer Fallout games, but you know, some of those features basically lived and died with the original game. And the thing is, like, back then, that's all Fallout was. It was just this simple game about survival in the wasteland and everything, and it was inspired by, you know, things like Mad Max and stuff. Yeah, it was interesting stuff. Anyway, let's give our Jawa friend some nice robes to wear. Now I've made this Jawa a little bit big. Like, compared to Optimus, who transforms into a semi-trailer, proportionally there is no way this Jawa would be, like, he's big for a Jawa. But he's going to be on a t-shirt, so he needs to stand out a little bit. Let's see if I can. Here we go. Jawas. Just want to tweak the positions of stuff. So I carry their stuff in these little pouches. So it's getting close to, I guess you could call this the first break that I go on. I want to get this right so I don't have to, won't have to revisit it. See, I kind of drew this little guy from memory when I first started drawing him. Just turn this music up just a teeny bit. Starting up a new track. So yeah, what was I talking about? No, that's right. Fallout. Now, there are some things in it that, I thought were not quite as Fallout-like as I would have enjoyed. Because I've always been a big fan of the games. Like, I've followed and played every Fallout game except Fallout 76. Because when that was first released, it just did not look at all appealing. Apparently they have significantly improved on it. Like, they've made it much more playable, added so much more content. From what I can tell, it's just like the post-apocalyptic version of Elder Scrolls. And the thing is, because there's nothing quite like Fallout on any of the other streaming platforms, I personally think that gives Amazon a bit of an edge. Also, the fact that they're essentially funded by the web services and the marketplace itself, it actually makes keeping their streaming platform going considerably easier. Because they make good content. Like, one of the things I never quite liked or understood about like buying a digital television was the live streaming programs were already like preloaded into the TV itself, and there's no way that I can find to remove them. Like, feel free to chime in if you actually know how to like get rid of these programs. But I have found that of the big three, I guess you could call them, like Disney, Netflix, and Amazon Prime, I find Amazon Prime honestly the most appealing. Like, I might get back into Netflix, but I don't know, I was never really a fan of it. But considering I'm doing more conventions going forward, it'd be worth me having a look into I guess consuming more of that sort of content so I can kind of keep up with what's actually going on. So in a way, it might be, it might behoove me to, like, sort of see it as a tax write-off, which I don't know how that works. But it would be great if I could claim that stuff on my taxes. Alrighty, anyway, I will be right back. Thank you so much for tuning in so far. I'm just going on a short break where I've just got to catch up on a few behind the scenes bits of housekeeping, so I will be right back. Alrighty. Apologies for the lengthier than average delay. Yeah, I figured make a caricature of Ella Purnell, who is playing Lucy McLean in the Fallout series. She's an interesting looking chick, seriously. Okay, she's about as close to a living anime character in terms of looks that I've ever seen. Like, I swear they're doing something to her eyes to make them look actually bigger than they are, but on closer inspection, no, she just has these sort of very big, googly looking eyes. You know, which works in her favor, you know, like she's... So this is more of the sketch jam portion of the live stream. This is how I just kind of get my ideas out. So yeah, today's been a very cool and interesting day. Just new discoveries and all that. She has a really strong, like, character arc. She starts out very sort of innocent, naive, and then she ends up very much the badass. Like, you see in real time just how disillusioned she gets and how she's, you know, she pretends not to be fazed by just how brutal life really is in the wasteland. So I don't know about that one. So yeah, I want to have a bunch of new bits of fan art. So what are the other things I liked? Oh, the fact that they hinted at the existence of the Death Claw and the super mutant, I think is very, very well done. Like the music from the game, like the Fallout theme from Enon Zur, that was really cool. What are they called? The NCR Rangers made an appearance. The water chip was mentioned, and for anyone who's sort of, you know, my age or who played the first Fallout game, the water chip quest is the first quest you get. They had the cryogenic suspension tanks. Yeah, they had all kinds of stuff in that game. But anyway, I digress. So, yeah, I've got a few announcements to make regarding the channel and the live stream. I know I make these every single episode, but I figured I'd just start talking about them here and now, just while it's fresh in my mind. I will be doing more of these just when I have the time to do them. I want to make some more fan art stuff. She looks a bit tortured in that one. And I also want to make some more work videos as well. So yeah, if also I want to again open up the Sketch Jam suggestion box for upcoming episodes. If you have anything that you'd like me to include in a Sketch Jam session, feel free to leave it in the comments or in the chat. And yeah, yep. I'm also planning on doing a playthrough video of the original Fallout game. Fallout 1, Fallout 2, and maybe even that Brotherhood of Steel game, which I never finished because I didn't like it. Because compared to the previous two Fallout games, it was so weird looking and difficult to play and just so incredibly different, because it wasn't made by the original guys that made the first two Fallout games. Like, it did have Vault Dwellers in it, but it was more about the Brotherhood of Steel. And I like the Brotherhood of Steel. I think they're cool. But that is not the faction that I'm interested in when I play, you know, when I get a new Fallout game, I expect the following: cool references, old music, fun sci-fi, power armor, and just all around fun times. And the thing about what's it called, the Brotherhood of Steel game, which is technically Fallout 3 before the actual Fallout 3. So it's a non-canon Fallout 3. Yeah, I just found the game it's visually unappealing as well. Like Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, is just a jarringly ugly looking game. The super mutants don't look like they did in the previous one. The ghouls don't look like they did. Like, everything doesn't look the same. Like, it is so... It's like the redheaded stepchild of the franchise. Yeah, it's called Fallout Tactics, and if anyone's ever played it, I'll be doing a playthrough of it, because I just want to sort of get reacquainted with all these old games that I remember. From back in the day. Might bring our arm down just a teeny bit. Yeah. I'll push the opacity back on that one. I'll do some detail sketching. That's a good one of her. Very boxy like head, but I don't want to give her too much of like a square bruiser's jaw. Very big eyes. Kind of made her look a little bit like a combination of a Bratz doll and a pop vinyl figure. Oh, careful. So yeah, I want to do sort of more caricatures as well as a lot more I guess fan art stuff. So I've got 2 conventions coming up this week. No, not not this week. Sorry, this month. So I'll be on the road for most of the week. Like I don't really live stream on the weekends anyway. It's usually too much to do, too much to keep track of. I just want to refine down I guess the nuts and bolts of how the sketch jam is going to go from here on out. Yeah, but until then, I'm going to wrap it up here because the old back is starting to hurt. So anyway, thank you once again, everybody, for tuning in. It's actually been very cool to, get the display looking more like it should. And tune in next time. I will be doing more community posts on what's it called, on different social media, including YouTube as well. And I will be back next week, hopefully, with a bunch of new stuff. And I will see you when I see you. See ya.